Hello, I'm Rabbi Eli Garfinkel, and I welcome you to Episode 3 of the Ask My Rabbi show, the interactive video blog that gives you the opportunity to ask me questions anonymously and to get life advice from a Jewish perspective. Today's question comes from Joel in Vancouver, British Columbia. He asks, could a group of Orthodox Jews take a cruise on the Love Boat that would have them sail over Shabbat? Let's first define our terms. By Orthodox Jews, I assume you mean observant Jews, as there are many non-Orthodox Jews who observe Jewish law, like me for instance, and there are many Jews who consider themselves to be Orthodox in a community sense, but who don't themselves strictly observe Jewish law. So, if I understand you correctly, your essential question is, may observant Jews take a cruise that sails over Shabbat? One potential problem with being on a boat on Shabbat is not the travel itself, but when the travel begins. The Talmud says that one may not set sail less than 3 days before Shabbat. The reason is that one might get seasick and thus be unable to enjoy Shabbat when it comes. Most people do not get seasick on today's enormous cruise ships, but every so often we do hear that a whole ship has come down with a stomach virus that seems to travel very quickly through passenger ships. The Talmud also says, however, that this rule only applies to optional travel. A voyage that is taken for the purpose of doing a mitzvah can be started within the 3 days before Shabbat. So in order to take a cruise that will travel over Shabbat and start within 3 days of Shabbat, you have to justify it in terms of a mitzvah. If it's a cruise that is going to bring you and your family or you and your spouse closer together, then that's a mitzvah and a valid reason for taking the trip. If it's a cruise that will help your business, such as a conference at sea, that is a valid reason. If it's a singles cruise and you think that you might find a husband or wife, that's a mitzvah and a valid reason. But if the cruise is for some kind of completely recreational activity that cannot be justified in terms of a mitzvah, such as a gambling cruise or your example of the Love Boat, that kind of voyage should not be started within the 3-day window. Now, if one were to start a cruise, say, on Sunday or Monday and be at sea through the following Shabbat, it seems to me that the purpose of the cruise would then not matter. Once Shabbat begins on the boat, one is required to follow the same rules that one would have to follow on land. It is forbidden to cook, light fires, write, use money, and all the other things that are not permitted on Shabbat. And getting off the boat on Shabbat can present a problem because you're not supposed to be more than 3,000 feet from a populated area on Shabbat. That rule does not apply while you're on the boat, but it does apply once you disembark on an island somewhere. In summary, there is no problem with being on a boat per se on Shabbat. If you are going to leave within 3 days of Shabbat, the purpose of the cruise should have some kind of good reason or mitzvah attached to it. There is a risk of ruining our enjoyment of Shabbat on a boat, so one should not take that risk without some kind of mitzvah in mind. And that's the end of Episode 3 of the Ask My Rabbi show. I'm thrilled that the questions keep coming in. Be sure to log on to askmyrabbi.com to ask more questions and to see future episodes. I'm Rabbi Eli Garfinkel of Temple Beth El in Somerset, New Jersey. Shalom.